Boom shakalaka, what is going on everybody? Randall here from Crypto Love. Today's episode, we are going to be talking about Bitcoin boom or bust for 2020. What is happening with Bitcoin? Do we have a massive dump coming from Kim Jung Un? Or do we have a massive rally coming ahead? So if you want to find out, stay tuned for today's episode. Alright guys, what is up? Today we're going to be taking a look at, is Bitcoin going to the moon or is Bitcoin going to follow oil and go to zero? I'm going to answer all that stuff in today's episode. So, what are we taking a look at? Well, we'll go step by step. Today, let's begin speculating on Kim Jung Un's Bitcoin. Now, rumors say Kim Jung Un may have passed on. According to Al Jazeera, he's been absent from state media. Apparently, he grabbed his chest and collapsed in early April while visiting North Korea's countryside, and he has not been seen for weeks. Now, people are speculating as on the fate of North Korea's Bitcoin with a value of $670 million at the time in 2019, which some people think now may be up to $2 billion of Bitcoin. A lot of this speculation is based on this Twitter post here from Zach Vol. 65,000 Bitcoin transferred from Kim Jong Un's Trezor wallet to Coinbase. Now, he made this as a joke, but as you can see, a lot of likes, a lot of retweets. He's scared the amount of interaction means people are taking this seriously. Now, this goes on to say, no, Kim Jong Un's vegetative state won't cause a Bitcoin crash. So, even though he may be seen in a vegetative state or may be dead, it's unclear as to what's happening. What won't happen, according to this author, is a massive sell-off in their Bitcoin, because a lot of that Bitcoin is not only in the North Korean state, but also a lot of people in North Korea. If you guys remember, there was one of the people from Ethereum who was actually arrested because he went and taught people about Bitcoin and other cryptocurrencies. His name is Virgil Griffith. He went and taught people about Bitcoin and other cryptocurrencies in North Korea. So no, the sell-off isn't imminent. There was actually a really funny comment here saying that just because North Korea owns Bitcoin doesn't mean they're going to be selling off a whole bunch. If Kim Jong Un dies, if he actually dies, his position will pass on to his sister, Kim Yo Jong. And someone here said something pretty funny that, under the same thinking that if he dies, there will be a Bitcoin sell-off, it turns out that North Korea also possesses a lot of uranium and fish. There will also be large sell-offs in those markets too. So if you own stock in uranium and fish, you might want to dump that immediately. Now, that gets us on to thinking, well, what happens if other people start buying and selling Bitcoin? So Tone Vays weighs in on the question, what happens if Amazon's Jeff Bezos bought all the Bitcoin? Because even though a lot of businesses pretty much took a giant dump because the whole world closed down because of a silly little virus, Amazon is making a killing. They actually can't keep up with business. Normal deliveries on Amazon, which are 1 or 2 days, are now a week and a half. So, if Jeff Bezos, after making all of his money from coronavirus, he had a vested interest in making this coronavirus, didn't he? Worked pretty well for his business. So, if Jeff Bezos were to buy all the Bitcoin, what would happen? And Tone Vays actually says he couldn't. As a matter of fact, he couldn't buy all the Bitcoin. And you might be saying, huh? What? How could he not buy all the Bitcoin? Well, turns out he would start buying Bitcoin, but as he started buying Bitcoin, the price would increase, especially once news got out that he was buying the Bitcoin, then other people would buy Bitcoin, then we'd have everybody trying to buy Bitcoin. Simple economics, supply and demand. Bitcoin has a fixed supply where the incoming flow actually decreases by half in less than a month. And if the demand goes up because Jeff Bezos starts buying it and then a whole bunch of other people start buying it, guess what? The price skyrockets to a point where he wouldn't even be able to afford Bitcoin. That's right, one of the richest people on the earth wouldn't be able to afford all the Bitcoin if he wanted to. Now, Tone Vays draws a parallel back to something that happened between 1979 and 1980, where the Hunt brothers attempted to corner the silver market. They wanted to buy up all the silver, and what happened was the price actually surged from $6 to $50 per ounce until the governments stepped in to shut it down. So that's something exciting that could happen if Jeff Bezos tries to buy up all the Bitcoin. Now, Keith Waring has been writing some pretty cool articles for Cointelegraph recently. He says $10,000 Bitcoin back in play. Key metric, hints at next super cycle. Now, he obviously has been watching my channel because he's saying, hey, key metric, MACD, the one that I talk about all the time, key metric hints at next super cycle. He's saying down here, we have a couple of things, but MACD's most reliable signal. And if you take a look at a video that I made a few days ago, I'll post something up here. You can take a look at that, why this MACD cross is actually the one that sparks the beginning of the bull run, the beginning of the Bitcoin blast off, the beginning of the rally. So if you want to see that, click that link up there. But the other thing that we will say, and I will go on further as to is $10,000 in play? I will actually answer that question a little later on in the episode, but good article, Keith. Now, this guy here says something completely different. Bitcoin is showing all three crucial signs of a classic bull trap. So basically the futures funding rates was negative before the Bitcoin rally, which you can see by this graph here. Also, altcoins are not rallying in tandem. So typically in an extended and sustainable Bitcoin rally, major altcoins rise in tandem, which they're not doing. And thirdly, Bitcoin is finding itself in a multi-year resistance area. So we have something saying going up, something saying going down. And then we have this article saying here that boomers are fucked. Baby boomers. You know why? Because they're nearing retirement and things like that. And if they don't own Bitcoin, they could get screwed, especially with stock markets, because as this person says here, the damage that done to the U.S. pension system is incomprehensible. Baby boomers will sell every rally they can to protect their last rapidly diminishing nest eggs. So baby boomers are fucked unless they own Bitcoin, because they're just going to keep on selling. Every time the price goes up, they're going to sell, price will go back down. Price goes up, sell, go back down. Now, mostly they are invested in traditional markets. Very few of them are invested in Bitcoin unless they actually listen to the stuff we say here. Now, what do I think? Is Bitcoin going up to $10,000, $100,000? Where could it potentially go? Well, I like this graph here because this has been pretty darn accurate on what's been happening with the Bitcoin price since, I don't know, forever. And really all I've been doing is changing the color of these lines so that you can see them better, but they are absolutely imperative. I mean, not imperative, but they're like very, very reliable for finding where Bitcoin finds support and resistance. And all these are previous support and resistance lines. But as you can see here, Bitcoin was rising up. It hit some resistance right there at around 10.5 and then dropped all the way down, found support exactly there, just about 3,800, bounced up, okay, and then came back down and up. And again, we're finding resistance on another resistance line right there. Now, where could Bitcoin go? Well, it could certainly surpass this, head up to 8,100. If it doesn't, could go back down to the 7,200 support that we find. Is $10,000 viable? Well, if we were to head straight up from where we are right now, that would be $9,600. So unless Bitcoin is going to break out of the multi-year trend that it is in, this multi-year wedge, unless it's going to break out from there, $10,000 is not possible. My assumption. And assumptions, you make asses out of you and me, you know, that type of thing. So I don't think a $10,000 is headed. I think Bitcoin will bounce back and forth until Bitcoin breaks out either up or down. Now, there's a lot of evidence to say that Bitcoin will break up because we have another halving cycle. And if we take a look at the halving over time, I'm just going to zoom out here so you can see it. Every time there's a halving, Bitcoin price goes up. Okay, we'll make it a little bit more clear for you. But we have a halving, which are these blue lines, and then within about 6 months to a year after the halving, Bitcoin breaks above the previous all-time high, goes parabolic to new all-time highs. Now, Bitcoin right now is actually on par for being within the average range for a halving. Based on the past two halvings, Bitcoin actually is almost trending exactly perfectly towards the $8,500 range that I predicted like a month ago where Bitcoin would hit for this halving. So it is on target to hit that. That would be the exact average for what it would do. And then 6 months to a year after that, we would have the Bitcoin price where it hits $20,000. And then after that breaks out parabolic $100,000. Those are my ideas on things. But this wedge ends January 11th of February 2021. So breakout sometime by then. So what do I think is happening? Are we going to see a Bitcoin crash? Nah, unlikely. I mean, if Kim Jung Un had a whole bunch of Bitcoin, unless he gave it to somebody else, like unless he gave his passwords to his sister, it's going to die with him. So that'll just be like Satoshi's Bitcoin. just gone. Do I think North Korea would sell it off? No. They realize this is a valuable asset, like gold. They stockpile gold, they stockpile fish, they stockpile other things, they stockpile Bitcoin. Do I think Jeff Bezos is going to buy a whole bunch of Bitcoin? Maybe. It would probably be in his good interest. Do I think he will? No, probably not. Most business people realize they can do better with business than just buying a speculative investment like Bitcoin, like the rest of us are doing. But it is an asset, so he might own a little bit. And so that's all for today's episode. Thanks for watching, guys. I hope you did enjoy it. Have a great week this week. And then lastly, if you are in tough times and you haven't been getting enough stimulus money, they are diluting the value of US dollars by just giving people all this money, which is great for Bitcoin because the value of Bitcoin relative to a dollar is going to skyrocket. It may not happen soon, but it will happen thanks to this. But if you guys are stuck for money, don't sell your crypto. And this isn't financial advice. I'm not a financial advisor. I'm not telling you what to do with your money, but do what rich people do. You can do what rich people do. They borrow against their assets. If you've ever read Rich Dad, Poor Dad, there's one simple thing that separates the rich and the wealthy from the poor, okay? Rich people buy assets. Poor people buy a whole bunch of junk, like cars and, I don't know, whatever else people buy with their money. Clothes and things that depreciate and junk and, I don't know, but not assets. Rich people buy assets. Poor people buy non-assets. Well, guess what? Rich people don't sell their assets when they need money. They borrow against their assets because they know their assets are going to make them more money. And so they just borrow against that until they can pay it off. Well, you can do the same thing with your Bitcoin. You can borrow against it. So if you want to and you haven't checked out the Celsius wallet, I will post a link down in the comments. If you use that, you get $10. I get $10. We both win. And you don't have to sell off any of your crypto. So thanks for watching. I'll catch you guys later. Have a good one. Peace.